office protect neighborhoods that historically have been redlined? Would your office expose the banks and financial institutions to the public that have taken advantage of redlined neighborhoods? Mr. Coffey.
Yes.
Mr. Dinello.
The answer is yes, and I actually did some of that work at the insurance department where people were redlined for insurance coverage as well as for loans. So it's a serious issue. You can often take a map of redlining around loans and around insurance policies and lay them over, and it's quite a disturbing picture along with housing. So I think it's very, very important, and the AG's office has reach over all those laws, whether they're insurance laws, housing laws, or bank loan laws. It's a great thing about the office, as Senator Schneiderman said, is it can reach all kinds of agencies' works and enforce on their behalf, and all kinds of substantive laws and enforce on the people's behalf.
Ms. Rice?
Yes.
Mr. Schneiderman?
Yes, but let me just add that and look, I represent a poor community up in Washington Heights. I've been the victim of this a lot, and this is an issue that I've done a lot of work on. Let me just mention, though, that the problem with banks, and this applies to the last question about financial services, the other aspect of this, and Ms. Rice mentioned this, is the problem of public campaign financing and the pay-to-play culture that is there in the absence of public campaign financing. And while I was, practicing law in between, being a deputy sheriff and being a senator, I also was on the board for a long time, and the president of the board of a group called Citizen Action that was a part of this whole movement to have what we call clean elections and have public financing of campaigns. The problem taking on banks and financial services, part of it is the technical skill to go after them. And I agree with my colleagues that that's important. The other part is stopping a system where these guys are allowed to pour money into the coffers of the people who are then supposed to make balanced decisions. So I would just add, it's not technically financial services or banking. We've got to have public financing of campaigns and get the pay-to-play culture out of our system once and for all. The system in New York City is not perfect, but it's a lot better than the Wild West in Albany, and we sponsored legislation to change it, and I would make that the top priority. In fact, I would argue that, and I introduced legislation to address some of this issue with District Attorney Cy Vance on Tuesday. This is a crime prevention issue. This is public financing of campaigns and the paying people to, giving contributions to people that have to decide on your behalf. I'm talking about anti-corruption, anti-crime measures. That's the kind of tough-on-crime Attorney General I would like to see, and I will be. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brodsky?
Yes, I will. It's not enough. And again, in the context of the choice who will be the chief legal officer of the state, it seems to me the corollary of going after the wrongdoers of the banks is to empower communities and citizens to know what their rights and what their legal opportunities are. Carol Towns and my colleagues, a bunch of insiders, Jim Brennan, a real insider.
So you can see how far I've come.
He's supporting my candidacy, so I can say that. Crafted laws that have provided funding for the kind of community empowerment that is a corollary to any decent social system's ability to enforce the law. Now, I will take the remaining 60 seconds to comment on this question of inside versus outside. Ms. Rice is, if nothing else, very articulate about how Andrew Cuomo and Eric and I are not fit to serve because we're insiders. It is a very dangerous argument to make in a state where most of the incumbents are Democrats. It is a stereotype, and I don't like it. I want to be judged for what I've done. If Ms. Rice thinks that I have been ineffective, I would welcome the opportunity to hear that. She and I have differences. She opposed the Rockefeller drug law reforms. I supported it for years. That's an honorable thing for someone to do. We should be able to disagree without calling each other names. Mr. Coffey is apparently half an insider in the Rice view. He doesn't like to be half an insider. He wants to be all of it. Look, this is about the exercise of power by elected officials in the name of the people of the state. And that is a question of character, temperament, record, into this, throw the bums out. We already have a Tea Party, and we don't need one of this.
We have one last question in the banking. I'm reminding the candidates that this is a dialogue